Hello, welcome back to my channel where we like to get into the nitty-gritty breakdown of stories, characters, plots, and what makes them great or not. I am 6 days post-op from my dental surgery, so my face is still a little swollen. Have my hair hided a bit on this side. There's a little bruising, but I think I'm doing pretty good. We are tackling another Fanji Shin drama because this is why you're here, to journey with me as I deep dive into all of my autistic special interests. And this man's facial expressions, as an autistic who has spent their entire life literally studying people in an effort to understand how to read freaking facial expressions, are a goddamn work of fucking art. I will tell you all about this absolutely unhinged story, and then you can decide if you'd like to watch it, because we love the unhinged ones here. I'll give you some clues. My parents got divorced while I was living abroad, and now my dad is engaged to my high school classmate. My adopted brother has always been in love with me. I know what you're thinking. What is this? A Japanese manga? No, it's Game of True Love, a 2025 Chinese Duanju drama. And this is where I get to nerd out a little and explain that Chinese dramas are typically placed into one of three categories. Traditional length dramas that are around 40 to 45 minute episodes, Duanju length, which are typically 15 to 30 minute episodes, and Wei Duanju, which are less than 15-minute episodes. This is a Duanju drama with episodes around 18 minutes long, but there are 56 of them. Yes, you heard that right. I roller coastered through 56 episodes twice to bring you all of the drama, and boy does this story have drama. As you can see, I have already set up my board, so future Allie, who is editing, will have less of a nightmare. So episode 1, we open to our male lead, right there, sitting at a poker table. The first words out of his mouth are, "Mr. Lee, you must return all the money you embezzled from the company today." The music tells us the atmosphere is tense. He makes a bet. If Mr. Lee wins, he'll let him go. But if Mr. Lee loses, he has to accept whatever he must pay. This is absolutely wonderful insight into our character before we even know his name, which will set up several things later on in the story. First, our male lead is a confident motherfucker. Not only is he willing to take risks in high-stakes games, but poker isn't just a game of luck. It's also a game of calculation. You need to use a combination of math, psychology, and strategic thinking in order to win. That easy confidence at the beginning makes us believe that maybe he can win this. So we're not even 2 minutes into this drama, and we already are given a very clear picture of who our male lead is on a fundamental level. Next, we jump to New York City. It tells us on screen, but we also pan over the Empire State Building lit up at night before cutting to a red sports car. It's always a red fucking sports car, guys. Speeding down a lane between tents or yurts, we see the shadowed outline of two people and hear passionate cries as they're caught in the moment. Here we are introduced to our female lead as she stops the car. She puts a pair of sunglasses on top of her head before getting out. It's dark out, it is nighttime. This is a fashion choice. Our girl does not mess around. We are dealing with another fucking queen. She's wearing red with red lipstick, walking across the grass in silver heels as she kicks off the strings, keeping the tent grounded. The two characters, caught up in passion, don't notice as she takes the tent ties and attaches them to the back of the sports car. She steps on the gas and the tent flies away with her. We jump back to our male lead, who is referred to as Mr. Shen. The last card is pulled. The table now holds a 2 of clubs, king of hearts, ace of hearts, 2 of spades, and the king of clubs. Mr. Lee laughs as he throws over his 2 aces. Full house. Mr. Shen only smiles and tells Mr. Lee to turn himself in as he tosses his 2 kings into the center of the table. 4 of a kind. And now we finally get our male lead's name, Shenjahe, who is fully composed the whole time. The police arrive and arrest Mr. Lee, who is freaking out, saying he was tricked. The officer thanks Shenjahe for his cooperation, leading us to believe perhaps he was working with them to get Mr. Lee to confess. This, of course, giving us even more insight into Shenjahe's character. Fully cooperating with the authorities, he is on the side of justice. He believes people should get what they deserve. And now we are back in New York, where we also get our female lead's name, Shuno. As she pulls off an engagement ring and throws it, our leads walk away from the scene and we get a voiceover from Shuno that sets up our story. Life, like a gamble, is exciting, dramatic, seductive, and unpredictable. The winners are happy and the losers should be unperturbed. As long as you don't give up, you'll still have a chance, because victory belongs to the brave. Shenjahe sends a text to Shuno. It's a photo of her ex-fiancé with his mistress. She comments that he must be busy if he's sending her proof after she already found them out. Then we get a news article on her phone stating Shenjahe will become the new president of Yuanfei Group. She then sets up her intentions to stop that from happening. Why? What is their relationship? We don't know, but we are so curious. This is where we're introduced to a new character, Bai Sha. Shenjahe is meeting her in her hotel room. She asks when her villa will be ready. He holds up a key. She seductively touches his shoulder and tells him to visit her often. Shenjahe, again always composed, tells her she deserves it. She earned it through her hard work. We are 5 minutes into this story. There is already so much going on. We are being teased with snippet after snippet that is adding to our curiosity. People got secrets and I want to know all of them. We get more information when Shuno, now back in China, gets a call from her BFF, Dan Dan. We love Dan Dan. Dan Dan is the absolute cutest. Who asks if she's gonna compete openly with Shenjahe and reminds her about how he betrayed her back then. Shuno reasserts her intention to take back everything that is hers. To follow this up, we jump to nighttime at a company function where everyone is congratulating Shenjahe. Here we learn he is the adoptive son of the Shu family. We are starting to put the pieces together. Shenjahe and Shuno are unrelated siblings. Literally cannot stress enough just how absolutely unrelated by blood they are, because the sexual tension between these two, which becomes apparent very quickly, is literally like a bolt of fucking lightning. Fireworks go off. The real big bang bang fireworks. Shuno walks down the staircase, again in red. This time a gorgeous red dress with, again, a matching red lip. These are all very specific style choices. On the positive side, it's passion, strength, courage, action. On the negative side, it's anger, volatility, danger, sacrifice. And in China specifically, red means good fortune, happiness, and joy. So both instances, during these introductory power scenes, our girl is wearing power colors. She congratulates Shenjahe and asks if he liked the fireworks she got for him. He says,
不喜欢烟花的你.
We flash back to fireworks going off as Shenjahe kisses Bai Sha while Shuno watches. Things are getting dramatic in here. Shenjahe reaches out a hand and asks if she'd like to catch up. They are now engaged in a dance. Guys, the cinematography is so good here. This dance isn't just a dance. This is an emotional minefield. We can feel the tension from fucking space. He comments on how she's even more beautiful and asks how she's been. She quips, "You know everything about me, don't you?" They share an intense glare. It's fucking divine. Shuno hits hard with, "What do you want by spying on me behind my back?" Shinjahe is calm. This boy is cool. Always collected. "To prevent you from being cheated on by scum," he says. Their banter continues along with their dance. Every move, every step and small touch, controlled, calculated, just like them. She asks who he thinks he is, and he says, "A brother? Or your first love?" Your exact words were,
不过是被人抛弃，寄居在别人家的养子而
已. Ouch. Here we get a name drop. Chi, who Shuno claims was her actual first love. Is she telling the truth or lying to get under Shinjahe's skin? We don't know, but it is fucking effective. After Shuno makes drama at the company for Shinjahe trying to get him in trouble, instead she gets an earful from her father, who is the owner and chairman of Yuanfei Group, about how she doesn't understand anything and just needs to stay out of it. Our girl is undeterred and still highly suspicious. She follows Shinjahe when he goes to the hotel to meet clients. Who does he meet? Yes, Bai Sha. Shuno is ready to catch him in a cheating scandal because he's supposedly engaged to the daughter of some other company. But what does she find instead? Her father. She finds her father in bed with Bai Sha. We enter battle mode, guys, as Shuno tries to record the scene for her mom. Bai Sha slaps her, and now Shuno is fully engaged in this catfight. Her dad comes back. Bai Sha plays the victim. Shinjahe is literally holding her back. Here she gets dropped the bomb that her parents have actually divorced. For a while even. She loses it and leaves. Shinjahe runs after her and they get into a full-blown argument in the street. Shuno throwing out wild accusations and calling Shinjahe a liar, saying he's doing everything out of revenge for what she said about him being a foster child. Shinjahe seems actually pretty hurt by what she's saying, so he lashes back with, "That's right, I've got nothing to lose, so I wanted you to experience what it's like to have your family torn apart." He asks her if this answer satisfies her.
怎么样，满意了吗？
Signaling to us, the viewer, that this isn't necessarily the truth, but instead he's being facetious. She obviously doesn't give a shit. She slaps him. Shuno walks away and Shinjahe grimaces. You can tell this interaction did not go the way he had hoped. But when Shuno, in her anger-filled state, walks into the street, she trips on her heel and almost gets hit by a car. Shinjahe saves her, obviously. Shuno remembers a different time as children when Shinjahe saved her from a falling hat rack, and you get the sense she's experiencing some cognitive dissonance. She really wants Shinjahe to be the villain in her story, but his actions don't match her perception, and she is struggling with this. But now she's angry and embarrassed, so she fucking jets. She has a breakdown in the car and calls her mom. As one does when you're upset. You call your mom and you have a good cry. Here we see Bai Sha calling Shinjahe. She is gloating, but he seems unimpressed. She asks if it's because he can't bear to see Shuno's heartbroken face, and again asks about the villa. He tells her not to be too greedy because she might not end up with anything, and she tells him not to be stingy. She just wants a little bit of money. It's during this conversation we learn Shinjahe is using Bai Sha to help him push Shuming Li out of Yuanfei and take over the company. We're unsure of his motives at this point. We also get an emotional reunion between Shuno and her mom, Su Rong. where we find out one of the reasons for the divorce is because Shuming Li was secretly transferring property behind Su Rong's back. Also, that Shu No's grandmother left a will stating she will get a bunch of Yuan Fei's equity once she gets married. I know, these old people and their fucking marriage caveat, but what can you do? Su Rong asks if Shu No has a wrong impression of Shinjahe, further adding to the cognitive dissonance we're seeing because he's the reason Su Rong was able to get the house and land in Huangxi village. The next day, Shu No confronts her dad about working at the company and they argue. He basically tells her there is no chance in hell he's letting her work there. It's literally an over my dead body situation, and he tells her to give the credit card back. Shinjahe overhears most of this and tries to plead on her behalf, but Shuming Li tells him to fuck off, basically. Su Rong calls him and asks if Shu No argued with her father again and asks if he can find her because she's worried. He quite literally runs around the city trying to find her because she won't answer her phone. I want to point out here that he doesn't need to do this. He could try calling, look around a few places, and give up. He tried but couldn't find her, but he doesn't do that. This shows a deeper level of concern for Shu No, but also for Su Rong, who he doesn't want to disappoint by not being able to find her. We're also getting a clearer picture that Shinjahe spends a lot of time caught between both parents and Shu No. Su Rong relies on him to keep an eye on her and keep her safe, and he spends a lot of time arguing with Shuming Li and advocating on her behalf, more than she even knows. And if you're the older sibling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Baisha has a confrontation with Shu No here where she gloats in her face. We're seeing Baisha lie by omission a lot so that Shu No gets a wrong impression. She's really doing her job as an antagonist, stirring the pot and building dissonance and misunderstanding. And I love it. The actress who plays Baisha does such a good job. You can really see how it plays into Shu No and Shinjahe's next interactions. She's very aggressive and accusatory again, but Shinjahe scolds her about her injured ankle, saying regardless of how angry she is at him, she still needs to take care of her body. As a viewer, we keep getting the sense that Shinjahe cares for Shu No quite a bit, but she views all of his actions as insincere. She thinks everything he does is a ploy to get what he wants, and she tells him as much. After we learn Shu No has asked Dan Dan, our lovely Dan Dan, to help dig up information on Baisha's new beauty bar, Xiamei, and subsequently crashes the launch party, Shinjahe interferes, and here you get more contrast between his actions and Shu No's perception of his actions. In her mind, there is no possible way he could be doing anything out of care for her or her mother. He is selfish and conceited and only out for himself, but none of his actions match this. And I really love the way the writers and actors showcase this growing divide. Shu No works with Dan Dan to get the video of her argument with Baisha out to the media to cause a stir, and uses the court of public opinion to gain points in her favor and make her dad look bad, which makes Yuan Fei look bad, which makes the shareholders on the board very unhappy. And this is what ultimately gets Shu No into Yuan Fei company. Our girl knows how to play this game. It's also reasserting her fiery nature, heralding back to all the red she wore at the beginning. We are now seeing through her actions she's not afraid of a little chaos, nor is she afraid to use herself as the bomb to get past the barriers keeping her from what she wants. We hit our first day at Yuan Fei, and Shuming Li tells Shu No she will be Shinjahe's assistant. Since she expected to be in the marketing department, she expresses her discontent, but Xiuming Li tells her it won't look good to put a newbie into a higher position, and also the assistant position is their only opening currently. Here we get some wonderful banter between our two leads.
还是你怕我看出来，你是一个绣花枕头。
It really helps reinforce the growing suspicion that Shenjahe really doesn't harbor any ill feelings towards Shuno, despite Shuno's increasing suspicions of him. Shuno is also still working with Dan to prove there is something going on between Shenjahe and Baisha and that they are using her dad for nefarious reasons. That night, Shuno searches Shenjahe's office for reports specifically to do with Baisha's new company because it's in a bunch of debt and ya girl is suspicious of ya boy. Unfortunately, it's mid-search that Shenjahe enters the office and begins to change. Our girl is not unhappy about it. But in her effort to escape unnoticed, she knocks over a plant. I mean, your girl's distracted. And Shenjahe obviously doesn't buy her bullshit excuses and asks what she's really after. She thinks Shenjahe and Baisha are colluding to get a bunch of money from Xiuming Li. She talks about the debt and asks him to explain why he was at Baisha's villa. Shenjahe asks why she cares so much about his relationship with Baisha. Is she really worried about money, or is it because she still cares about him? Shuno reminds him of their past, and here we get a flashback of what really happened between them. During Shenjahe's school performance, he plays the cello. Shuno is confronted by a classmate. Didn't you say Shenjahe is your nanny's son, adopted by your family? But you have a crush on him? She's like, hell no, he's just an outsider. I don't even notice him. But it is a hot mic, yeah. So now everyone in the whole school is talking shit about Shenjahe. The gossip spreads like wildfire. It's fucking high school, guys. So in retaliation, Shenjahe starts dating Baisha. Shuno then dates Chi in retaliation. It is petty high school drama shit, but they both hurt each other, and it is a wedge between them now. Shenjahe at this moment notices Shuno is wearing the birthday gift he gave her back in high school. It is a diamond ring on a necklace. He grabs it and she denies that it's the same one. It's a weak lie. Like, come on, girl, be so for real. Shenjahe asks if she still loves him. He asks her repeatedly. Now we're starting to see what's going on here. Shenjahe is in love with Shuno. Shuno is still hurt by their past. He can't let it go and kisses her. We don't like it, and neither does our girl. She slaps him. Deserved. He tells her to stop lying because she obviously loves him. She calls him insane and basically says he's projecting and that he's the one that loves her. He doesn't deny it, guys. He's like,
是我就是爱你啊。
we're like, oh shit, it is not one of those dramas. Boy knows he loves the girl and is straight up about it. But now this is where all of our earlier setup comes to play. She's like, okay, let's make a deal from today. If you make me fall in love with you in 3 months, I'll marry you. But if you fail, you'll leave Yuanfei Group, leave Shu family, and vanish from my life. He asks her if she's willing to swear on the ring, and she says there's no reneging on the 3-month deal. She's like, do you dare? And he's like, why wouldn't I? After this interaction, when Shenjahe is back home, we see his thoughts back to when he gave her the ring. Shuno says she will always be his family no matter what, and that he'll never be able to get rid of her. Since Shenjahe was abandoned by his family, this statement has clearly impacted him even now to this day. The next morning, the game is in full swing. Shuno comes down and comments on how he's made her breakfast, but she only likes warm milk in the morning. She takes a drink of the orange juice on the table, but Shenjahe, who walks to the microwave, turns around and says, that's mine. He hands her, yes, a glass of warm milk. Guys, this boy says, what, you didn't get enough of kissing last night? I'm fucking dead. He's so not fucking around. She's like, seeing your dark circles, did you not sleep well trying to think of how to win me over? He asks for a hint. She tells him not to bother with small tricks like making breakfast because it's embarrassing. He's like, don't flatter yourself. Aunt Pei made breakfast. Aunt Pei is the housekeeper. I'm defaulting to Asian titles here. They call people like aunt who aren't their aunts, hence Aunt Pei. We get some more cute banter between them, and she jokes that when he loses, he can just marry into another family because of his good looks. And he tells her that he's actually thinking of marrying into her family. She tells him he's shameless. Sometimes they really just seem like an old married couple. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it. They just spit fire at each other. For example, when Baisha calls Shinjahe at the office, Shuno comments that he sure knows how to fool around. And he goes, compared to your ex-boyfriends, I still have a long way to go. Excuse me? Boy, you did not. Enter Bai Lanhua, Baisha's mother. Apparently, Baisha lied about her education and background, and her mother is threatening to expose everything unless she gives her 300,000 yuan. I didn't do the conversion, but that's a lot of money, okay? Baisha asks her mother if she's gambling again, and Bai Lanhua gives a sus answer. She says that because Baisha is an influencer now and is marrying a rich guy, it's her duty to give her mom spending money. She's a real piece of work, I know. Definitely giving major parentification vibes, and this is the first time I actually felt bad for Baisha. It's obvious in this interaction that this is a pattern with her mom. They've done this song and dance many times before, and so as a viewer, we end up with a deeper understanding of Baisha's character. She's lived her life in survival mode, clearly also forced to parent her own mother. Now she's done whatever she can to get out of that situation, even if it meant lying a little. I still don't like her tactics or the way she treats her two leads, but I do have some sympathy for her circumstances now. Good job, writers. Next, we see Shuno meeting with one of the shareholders that is loyal to her mom. It is Suting, her uncle, and asks him to get an internal audit done because her dad is doing shady shit for Baisha's company and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to Yuanfei. And I imagine she also wants to take down Shinjahe in there somewhere. And it's after this she finds out from Dan that her dad is going to marry Baisha and transfer her mother's shares to Baisha. This came out in a previous conversation that in the divorce, Shuming Li made Su Rong sign over her company shares to him. He really seems terrible. When we get our next confrontation between Baisha and Shu No, it's when she's out shopping with her mom, and as usual, Baisha is antagonist and really egging Shu No on. Su Rong wants to let things be. Here, when Baisha insults Shu No, she's like, whatever. But when Baisha insults her mom, she fucking attacks. Not literally, but she takes Baisha's arm and smashes the family heirloom Shuming Li gave her ahead of their wedding. The jade bracelet that was given to Su Rong by Shuno's grandmother, Madame Su, for their wedding. Baisha is taken aback and calls her crazy. But Shuno states very clear that the bracelet is her mom's, even if they divorced. Her mom gets overwhelmed by everything and Shuno brings her home. In her sleep, Su Rong has a nightmare and you see Shuno get quite emotional and tells her mom that as long as she's there, no one can hurt her. I actually love this scene because here we really see how deeply Shuno cares about the ones she loves. This helps us understand two things about her character. First, the lengths she's willing to go to help and protect them. And second, why the cut seems so deep. when she experiences a betrayal, like in the case of Shinjahe, and therefore doesn't easily forgive people when she feels she's been wronged. Skip to Shuno sitting curled up on the couch. Eventually, Shinjahe enters and sits in the chair across from her. Here we get a rare vulnerable moment from Shuno where she asks him, "Do you love me?"
沈佳禾，你爱我吗？
Shinjahe hesitates and then asks her to tell him what happened. At first, this might seem like we finally caught him in the act. Haha, you never loved her. He kept saying he loved her. Now when it really counts, he hesitates. But I think that misses the deeper meaning of his response. He knows that whatever happened to make her ask him that is something that deeply affected her. He knows her very well, knows her patterns, and clearly understands her on a deeper level. His answer comes in his concern at what happened, especially when he sees that her hand is bandaged. He seems sincerely worried. Here, Shuno doesn't answer directly. She just asks him to stop Baisha from marrying her dad. Shinjahe seems conflicted. Shuno tells him to forget it because she knows he won't offend both sides. Shinjahe says he can do anything for her, but he can't stop them from marrying. Shuno calls bullshit, and Shinjahe reasserts to her that his relationship with Baisha is not what she imagines. She says she doesn't care and to just tell her if he can do it or not. He says he can't, and she walks away clearly upset. When Shinjahe goes home, he is still thinking about his interaction with Shuno. Again, we get the impression that he really doesn't like her being upset, but we also feel his conflict again, which is understood when we see him reading a diary. The entries talk about Shuming Lee and something that the writer and him did together. Shuming Lee took refuge with the Su family, referencing marrying Su Rong to escape any consequences, while the writer was left in the dust to deal with the fallout. This diary belongs to Shinjahe's bio dad, and his conflict comes from wanting to avenge his father. But because he doesn't want Shuno to get hurt, now he's wondering if he should just give up everything he's been working towards. At this time, he gets a text warning him that Su Ting is having the audit team come in. It's suspected to do with all the stuff going on with Baisha's beauty club, Shame. We cut to the following day where Shuno is eavesdropping on her dad talking about the wedding. Shinjahe comes down the stairs and suggests a deal to her. If he stops the wedding, she'll go on a date with him. She obviously immediately agrees and tells him to do something now before they birth a child. Not one to waste time, Shinjahe goes to meet Baisha at her villa. He tries to deter her by just telling her to postpone the wedding, but Baisha is obviously not a dumb bitch and is like, what the fuck, no, this was your plan to begin with. So he ends up telling her that Shuming Lee got a prenup written up, and that makes her genuinely angry. He also mentions the internal audit and says the investment into Shame will also be postponed. He tells her to just sit tight and wait, and things will work in her favor. We then cut to Shuno sitting in the parlor at the family home, and she overhears her dad on the phone saying, "What, you want to cancel the wedding?" And our girl gets a smile on her face. Like, she fucking knows he did it. She wants to know what he did, and he says he'll tell her if she goes on a date with him tonight. She's like, bruh, I don't need to know. And then we see her at Dandan's apartment drinking, and the two of them are trying to figure out how he got Baisha to agree so easily to cancel the marriage, literally same day. They are clearly several beers in, thinking it must be his sex appeal, and Shuno seems very peeved about it. Dandan suggests that perhaps Baisha still likes Shinjahe, which seems to irk her even more. Yes, the girl who absolutely hates his gut hates that this girl might still like him. Make it make sense. Before they can say anything more about it, she gets a text from Shinjahe with a location and is like, oh shit, I forgot I said I'd go on a date with him. I gotta go. Dandan Bestie's got her best interests in mind. She is like, girl, you have drank way too much alcohol. This is not a good idea. And warns Shuno to not do anything foolish. But we all know how this ends, okay? It ends foolishly. Shuno is all pissed off that he's sleeping with Bai Sha during the day and then asking her to meet him by the pool at night. She sits on the side of the pool, no care in the world to her shoes or her dress, as one does when they're drunk. And she asks why he wants to date her. He says because he likes her. She doesn't believe him and calls him out for being intimate with Bai Sha in secret. He asks what she saw, and she's like, I wonder what she did after pulling you in the door. Shinjahe seems very amused by Shuno's reaction to the situation. He said he was only there for 5 minutes, which isn't enough time to do anything, even if he wanted to. He asks her again if she likes him, which she vehemently denies. When she tries to leave, she instead falls into the pool, again, as one does when they've had too much to drink. Shinjahe catches her, so it's fine. But remember, kids, this is why you don't drink around large bodies of water. It's dangerous, okay? Safety first. Don't drink by the lake. Don't drink in the lake. Don't go near large bodies of water when you've been drinking. They're now very close. He kisses her. And initially she kisses him back and then is like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? And pushes him away. Shinjahe says her body is more honest than her words. She splashes him with water. He kisses her again. And I'm gonna be honest here, guys. For a Chinese drama, this scene gets pretty heated. Like, they kiss all the way down the hall, into the hotel room. He lifts her up against the wall at one point. Like, oof, guys, just like Nellie said, it's getting hot in here. Shinjahe wakes up the next morning and our boy is happy. Our girl, I want to say she's almost gleeful. She basically tells herself she's doomed and is like, shit, what do I do now? They are eating the most awkward morning after breakfast I've ever seen. Finally, he breaks the silence by saying, if a guy invites you to breakfast after having sex, it means he wants the relationship to continue. Our girl, not missing a beat and definitely not willing to give up the game yet, says last night only happened because she was drunk. She calls it a one-night date, and he says he expects no less from her. Now we finally get to meet Chi. Dan takes out Shuno to try and help her forget about the previous night, and on her way out of the club, she gets harassed by a couple of guys. After chasing them away, she bumps into Chi. They sit and catch up. Meanwhile, our boy is stuck at the office working overtime. And he overhears two people talking about Shuno and Dan. So he checks the work group chat, and Dan has posted a poorly edited, according to our boy, photo of Shuno with some randos at the club. He seems amused and goes to pick her up, and to his surprise, he sees her talking to Chi. Flashbacks to Shinjahe and Chi getting into literal fisticuffs in high school. Not good, guys, not good. He tries to call her. She ignores him and basically tells him to piss off and leave her alone. He plays a good game in front of her, but during these times when he's alone, her harsh words genuinely hurt him. And now we start to see a new side of Shinjahe. It's not a great side, but it just wouldn't be a Chinese drama if we didn't have a hurt boy learning how to deal with big feelings. Shuno comes home and Shinjahe confronts her about where she's been. She says it's none of his business. And he's like, last night you were in bed with me, but you're already on a date with another man today. It does feel a little hypocritical after all of her backhanded comments about his escapades, but she stands firm on her last night was an accident. But this time Shinjahe is calling bullshit.
那意外了一个晚上，时间也太长了吧？
Excuse me, what? Boy's got stamina. Okay, okay. And fair. After a couple hours, you'd be sobering up a little. But now they're firing literal emotional gunshots at each other about their exes, and things are getting heated in all of the wrong ways. Shinjahe kisses her again. He's learning, okay? We'll get there. Shuno slaps him again, asks who the hell he thinks he is to just kiss her whenever he wants. Fair. She calls him boring and tells him to quit if he can't play the game properly. This boy is a bleeding heart for this woman at this point, and she's literally over here playing a push-pull game with his emotions. It's no wonder he's getting emotional whiplash. We're back at the company and everyone is complaining about being on the Chamay assignment because Baisha is a force to be reckoned with. Shinjahe puts Shuno on the job. She refuses, so he tells her to stop coming into work. She's like, can you do anything but threaten me? He's like,
我会对你干什么，你最清楚，还需要我说出来吗？
This boy, be so fucking for real, is so pleased with himself right now. I can't believe he said that out loud in front of other people. She's like, KK, I'm off now because I have a date. He's like, with who? She's like, you know who. Do I need to say it out loud? So she jets and he practically runs to the window. She knows exactly how to get under this man's skin. And then we get a funny interaction when Shinjahe comments that she only dated Chiyi to provoke him, and she's still doing it after all these years. And Aoza, who is his assistant, is like,
还不是因为这套管用。
These little dialogue one-liners are so fucking good, guys. They're so fucking good. Not just because they're funny or even because they're doing so much heavy lifting telling us these little gold nuggets of information, but these dialogue bits are giving us such a great picture of the relationships between these characters. I've mentioned this before when I've spoken about dialogue, but in your writing, beyond trying to make your characters sound natural, doing double duty of also characterizing them through the dialogue really takes your writing to the next level. And this is a prime example of that. This is also how Shinjahe sneakily gets Shuno into the marketing department where she originally wanted to be. The long and the short of this is the launch of the product Baisha is promoting gets sabotaged. Shuno originally takes the blame, but Shinjahe investigates and it's found out the supervisor of the project was a spy from SJ, a competing company. Baisha is determined to humiliate Shuno and strong arms her into publicly apologizing during the next live stream. Netizens are being absolutely awful in the comments and demand Shuno kneel and beg for forgiveness. As she's being forced to kneel, Shinjahe shows up and stops her. He then explains about the illegal switching of products and says the company has already handed over all the evidence to the police and asks customers for their understanding. Shuno actually thanks Shinjahe. This is a big deal. Remember, she usually assumes everything he does is for his own selfish desires, and you can see in Shinjahe's expression that he's legitimately surprised. He asks her what her next move for brand marketing is, and she says she's been suspended. He chuckles and says,
我没通过。
And here we get the first seeds of doubt in Shuno's perception of Shinjahe, because he defied her father, something she never thought he'd do. She wonders if she has misunderstood him. We jump to a week later to the post-launch celebration party, and the important scene here comes after the party when Shinjahe and Shuno are sitting at a table after everyone has left. She asks him if he's brave enough to play a game of truth with her. She suggests the rules that they each have to guess the other's truth. If the person guesses right, the other drinks. And if they guess wrong, that person drinks. And guys, our girl is not messing around. She starts with, back then, did you date Baisha just to make me jealous? He does not deny and drinks. Eventually, Shinjaha says, you never liked me. You never considered me as family. Shuno answers, not never, just not anymore. He follows up with, I could never enter your heart. They are both pretty drunk at this point. He says he'll take her home. She pulls him in close and says, actually, you've always been in my heart. And then calls him Chi on purpose, knowing it will hurt him. Guys, this girl is fucking savage.
Chi.
Take off!
Our boy is hurt, but he still gives her his jacket. And then he leaves her at the table. I want you to think about that, okay? She purposefully hurts him. He doesn't know it's on purpose, but like fucking savage. And he leaves, but still gives her his jacket so she doesn't get cold. I'm going through it, okay? So despite all this, our two leads are still mostly getting along with the odd smart remark and banter between them. So obviously that means Baisha steps up her game. During a business dinner with Shinjaha, she reminisces about their past and then confesses she has always been in love with him. He is how he always is with her, which is distant and standoffish. He basically gets up and leaves mid-dinner. She hugs him and he pushes her away and asks if she's misunderstood their relationship. He tells her firmly that what they have is a partnership and to not be grateful to him about the past. Honestly, he tells her so directly, it almost seems harsh, but our boy has never really been one to beat around the bush. Baisha cannot accept his answer and kisses him. Guys, you will never guess who walks by at this exact moment. Yes, it's fucking Shuno. This confirms solidly in her mind everything she previously thought about Shinjaha. Meanwhile, Shinjaha pushes off Baisha, now very angry, and yells, "Are you crazy?"
你疯了！
He basically says he'll buy her out and ends their partnership on the spot. Boy is fucking pissed. Shinjaha ends up at the hotel bar drinking his Shuno sorrows away. He gets absolutely wasted. Baisha shows up and takes him to a hotel room. She is ready to SA this man because there is absolutely no way he can consent to what she is doing to him right now, okay? This goes exactly where you think it does. Shuno ends up calling him, but he's barely conscious. Baisha answers his phone and purposefully makes it seem like he is spending the night with her. Remember, Baisha hates that Shinjaha loves Shuno and wants to destroy their relationship because she wants Shinjaha to herself. I know what you're thinking, but I thought Baisha was marrying Shuming Li, and you would be correct. So, I mean, I didn't... Look, this story is unhinged for a reason, okay? It does bother me that Shuno buys into all the Baisha sabotage because it's Baisha. But love is a funny thing, and Shuno has a lot of prejudice against Shinjaha. So when stuff like this happens, she completely defaults back to that prejudice. Midnight hits and it is Shuno's birthday. She starts getting tons of notifications, but obviously none from the person she actually wants them from. And I know, she keeps insulting him and then she's like, but why don't you do nice things and pay attention to me? Like, girl, you gotta make up your mind. So she's several drinks in at this point. This is a recurring theme. Everyone solves their problems with alcohol in this drama, okay? This is how we deal with things in our 20s before our frontal lobe is fully developed. Sad, alcohol. Big feelings, alcohol. Need to stop thinking, alcohol. Anyways, Chi shows up with a big happy birthday and gifts, and Shuno kisses him. And then immediately is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking, and starts crying. Chi is the understanding, nice guy and tells her he'll always be by her side. He seems really pissed at Shinjahe. You also feel bad for Chi here because he actually likes Shuno and she friend zones him so fucking hard. Sorry, bro, not everyone can be Fanji Shin, okay? Jump to the next morning. Everyone is showing up to the house to celebrate Shuno's birthday. Shinjahe knocks on Shuno's door, like her bedroom door, and sees Chi in her bed. He has the exact angry reaction that you'd expect. Remember, he doesn't know about the stuff Bai Sha did when he was unconscious. So the misunderstandings keep compounding. And at her party that night, she further aggravates him by setting up a few things she knows will upset him, and he literally just walks out of the party. These two might as well throw darts at each other and watch the other person bleed, like same effect. At the party, we find out Su Rong transferred her stocks to Shuming Li specifically to protect Shuno and reminds Shuming Li of her conditions and basically tells him he better not hurt her or make her life difficult. She reminds him the Su family stands behind Yuan Fei and Shuno is her bottom line. This does sound like a threat. You do not mess with the mama bear, bro. Shuno goes inside the house to collect herself because all her anger is really just to mask how hurt she is. Shinjahe is sulking in the parlor, but confronts her about Chi and says he knows they're just causing a fuss. She pushes every button, guys. Like, every fucking button. She goes so far as to say that her mom likes Chi and is asking her to set a wedding date already. Shinjahe's like, will you dare marry him? And Shuno's like, bitch, I'll do whatever I want. He reminds her that they are still in the 3-month game period, and as agreed, she has no right to marry during this time unless she wants to lose. Here she finally brings up the Bai Sha stuff. We get a flashback of what actually happened, which is that Shinjahe wakes up to Bai Sha basically undressing him, and he is rightly pissed. He kicks her out, literally takes her arm, throws her off the bed. When he goes to explain what happened, Shuno cuts him off. She is so wound up in her preconceived notions at this point, she can't see anything else. Even if he was able to explain, because she is so convinced that he is a liar about everything, I don't think she would believe him anyway. Things start to escalate here, and we're really seeing Shuno's prejudice peak. Think Elizabeth Bennet when she finds out Mr. Darcy is the reason Mr. Bingley never proposed to Jane. She finally confronts him and it's epic as only Jane Austen can write. It is not only a turning point in the story, but also their relationship. Shuno likewise has finally hit her breaking point. All of the misunderstandings explode and she says, I am not a woman you can joke with.
我许诺不是你随意玩弄的女人。
What I regret the most right now is I gave you a chance.
我现在最后悔的就是给了你机会。
From now on, I'm done with the game. She goes to leave. Shinjahe is not Mr. Darcy. He is the male lead in a Chinese drama, so he kisses her as he always does. At this point, I don't know why he thinks this will work because every other time she slaps him, and this time is no different. I swear to God, men just think if they show us physical affection, we'll understand their feelings. This is not the case. She tells him to get out. He is, again, legitimately hurt by her actions because remember, despite Shinjahe's proclivity to kiss her during their arguments, Shuno is the aggressor in his world. She comes back 5 years after abandoning him to deal with the family and Yuanfei and has done nothing but insult his character, calling him selfish, conceited, a liar. She says she wants to take everything away from him and leave him destitute, basically, without a family or anyone to rely on. And what has Shinjahe done in that time? He's saved her from getting hit by a fucking car, congratulated her on her cleverness to get into Yuanfei, searched the entire city when Surong asked him to keep an eye on her because she was worried, paved the way for her to go from his assistant to a marketing director, straight up confessed that he loves her. Like, I could go on. No offense, but those hardly seem like offenses so egregious they merit being thrown out of Yuanfei and the Shu family. Even if in high school he dated Bai Sha to make her jealous, I am sorry, but nobody in high school is making sound decisions, okay? So here we finally hit the climax of Shuno's prejudice against him, and she goes straight for the kill. I despise you, she says. Shinjahe, on the verge of tears, gives a how and walks out.
好啊。
And then what does she see on the table? Why, it's a cake with a little card. It says, "We've known each other for 20 years. Happy birthday, Xiao Nuo." It's signed Jahe. And similar to my previous video where I explained being added to a name can denote familiarity or affection, Xiao is placed before her name as a term of endearment. Directly translated, it would mean little Nuo, and is most often used between friends and family to express closeness. So she fully breaks down over the cake. Things at the office are tense now. Shinjahe finalizes Shuno's transfer from his assistant to the marketing department and tells Aoji he'll take over her work. Shuno stays at her mom's house, and here we get a scene where her mom gives her some important advice. She tells Shuno that in love, the most important thing is trust. If you can't trust each other, everything will fall apart. Here we see Shuno's innocence, and we're reminded that she is still young because she asks her mom how she trusts someone. How can she know that a person is trustworthy? And Su Rong tells her it's something she has to experience with her heart. The person who is truly right will stand the test of time. And here we enter Chihao, Chi's older brother and the CEO of SJ Company. Yes, that's right, Xu Mingli's sworn enemy and biggest rival. Remember, it was SJ Company that sabotaged Bai Sha's live stream release? It is very obvious in this interaction that Chi does not like his brother. In fact, he openly denounces him and states he has nothing to do with SJ, but his introduction leads into us, the viewer, finding out Xu Mingli is not just selling his shares to Mr. Zhou, a previous executive of Yuanfei, but that Chihao has set everything up so that if Xu Mingli can't pay back within the contract time period, Chihao will become a secret shareholder of Yuanfei, which he can use to swallow up the company and hopefully take over the market. This information definitely could have been delivered in a less exposition heavy way. Real people typically don't talk like this, but it's efficient. As long as you aren't relying on this method in your writing, you can usually get away with it sparingly. The plot twist is after Chihao leaves, when none other than Shinjahe walks out of the adjoining room to meet Mr. Zhou. Yes, Shinjaha is behind the whole deal. He says the shares previously belonged to Su Rong, and they cannot let them fall into the hands of Chihao if Xu Mingli is unable to pay back the money. What they really want is to catch Xu Mingli privately selling his shares so that it weakens his influence on the board. Shinjaha's goal is to push Xu Mingli out of Yuanfei without damaging the company. Fortunately or unfortunately, Shuno overhears her dad talking about pledging the shares, and she goes into his safe and takes photos of the contract. Yes, she breaks into her dad's safe. She recognizes the name on the contract as Chi's mother and confirms with him that she owns KKR, the company Xu Mingli is supposed to pledge his shares to. Chi is pissed that Chihao is dragging his mother into these illegal schemes. Shuno rushes off to stop the deal. Chihao is now worried that she will ruin the deal, so he tells his assistant to take Shuno somewhere and keep her there until the deal has been signed. We then jump to Shinjaha and Aoja watching from their car as Xu Mingli and Bai Sha meet Mr. Zhou. Shuno calls Shinjaha and tells him to stop the contract signing because KKR is owned by SJ. While she's on the phone with him, she gets knocked out. He immediately suspects Chihao, which, let's be real, says so much about the type of business person Chihao is. Shinjaha tells Aoja to call the police. Aoja says they probably just want to contain her and won't hurt her. Shinjaha doesn't trust Chihao not to hurt her to get what he wants. He tells Aoja to call Mr. Zhou and abort the plan. Aoja does not like this idea. He's worried Chihao will use Mr. Zhou to expose them as the real masterminds behind the whole thing, and all their effort will go to waste. Shinjaha calls Chihao. It's a tense exchange. He basically tells Chihao he has 1 minute to send Shuno's location or he will send him to jail, and then promptly hangs up before Chihao can even answer. Chihao does as he's told. Good thing too, because Shuno is tied to a bunch of rocks as the tide is coming in, which again says so much about the type of business person Chihao is. No wonder Chi absolutely despises him. Anyways, Shinjaha obviously gets to her in time. She is super out of it though. I imagine the water's pretty damn cold. Get back to the house where Shinjaha is sitting beside Shuno as she sleeps in bed. She wakes up from a nightmare and he comforts her. We also get some more cute banter between them where she accuses him of enjoying picking on her, but then thanks him for saving her. He's like, it's nothing as long as you're safe. Here Shuno says something pretty vital. They say you can tell whether a person is sincere or not just by looking into their eyes. She then asks, but why do your eyes lie? And here Shinjaha says something equally as important. Maybe what you see is real and what you assume is wrong. We get another flashback here of a time Shuno almost got kidnapped. I'm telling ya, being the heroine of a C-drama is fucking rough, guys. And Shinjaha also saved her that time by chasing the would-be kidnappers off. She says, I remember after that kidnapping, you never let me go home alone again. You accompanied me everywhere. You can now see the wheels in her brain turning. That cognitive dissonance is turning into confusion as she thinks more and more about the events in her past. She confronts him directly about what happened when they were 18, stating quite frankly, you changed overnight, and asking, was it because of what I said in the auditorium that hurt you? She goes on to explain that she apologized right away and had even said worse things to him, and he never held it against her, so why all of a sudden did he change? Shinjaha tries to dodge all her questions and even tries to leave the room, but Shuno stops him by saying, honesty might be your last chance to win the game, and asks if his secret is more important than winning. He again dodges giving an answer. We jump to Shinjaha at his apartment reading his father's diary, and he gets a text from someone that says his request to find his relative Lin Yi was unsuccessful and they were unable to locate him. Who is Lin Yi? Episode 13, and still so many questions. We jump to the next day when Shinjahe is explaining to Shuming Li everything that happened the day before. And here he really takes the opportunity to plug Shuno to Shuming Li. He says she is the reason they found out about the shady deal, tells him that she's always looking out for his best interests, and reminds him that she almost lost her life because of it. From here on out, Shuno really steps up her game. Now she knows something happened when they were 18 and Shinjahe isn't telling her what it is. But our girl is determined. And the first step is to find out who Shinjahe really loves, her or Baisha. We know it's Shuno, but she is now digging her way out of her cognitive dissonance. It starts with a lovely candlelit dinner for him. She entices him just enough to incite his curiosity and leave him wanting more. He seems deeply suspicious. She tells him there isn't poison in the food. Next, she leaves breakfast out for him in the morning with a note that says, "To my dear brother, wishing you a beautiful morning." This amuses him, probably because she calls him brother, which is something completely uncharacteristic for her. She then delivers him coffee at work, and now he's just visibly confused. He smells the coffee. Look at his face, guys. This man does not know what to do. She brings flowers for his desk, and he's like, what the fuck? When he's on break in the lounge, she brings him a dessert and tries to feed it to him. He leans away, but she does not back down until he eats it. She then messages the office group chat and says, "Mr. Shen, do you want to go home together?" Now the office is exploding with gossip. The office group chat is full of "congrats boss" messages. Shinjahe thinks Shuno is trying to humiliate him like a revenge tactic or whatever. We get a very pensive Shinjahe at the hotel bar wondering if he'll really leave Yuan Fei due to an unrealistic gamble, because their 3 months time limit will be up soon. It's around this time we find out what happened, which is that Shinjahe found out who his bio dad is and got his journal, which details Shuming Li as the reason his dad died. Hence the strong feelings of Shuno being the daughter of his dad's murderer, so he distanced himself and pushed her away, like back when they were 18. In a last-ditch effort to win the game, Shinjahe sets up the solarium in the backyard with all of Shuno's sentimental possessions that her dad threw away to make room for Shinjahe when he was adopted. Stuffed animals, little trinkets and gadgets, we see a vinyl album. She asks him where he found everything, and he says he was able to get some of them back in secret, and the rest he commissioned custom-made replicas based on pictures she took from back then. He says, "You told me I stole their room back then, now I'm giving them a room under the stars in return." So cute.
Editing Allie here. I forgot to point out that this would have taken quite a bit of forethought to pull off. I know it's China, the manufacturing capital of the world, but to get custom-made replicas of stuff would still take time. And I did find not the exact Fantastica album, but a different mix from the same record label. They are a division of Chaos Records based out of Portugal that focuses primarily on house music. I imagine Shinjahe was able to get this record back because enough money can pretty much buy you anything, but the time and effort to find an album from a random Portuguese record label that is over 20 years old really emphasizes the lengths Shinjahe went to in order to return Shuno's things. Things that were thrown away by her father when Shinjahe was a literal child and had no obligation to try and return. The level of care and thought that went into this project must have taken literal months, because remember, Shinjahe is also president of Yuan Fei, a full-time job that often requires him to work overtime. Could he have paid other people to find stuff for him? Sure. Could he have had Aoji run around picking things up? Absolutely. But he still had to go through all of the photos to get the custom-made replicas, and he would have had to spend a lot of fucking time searching for and buying back anything that was original, which implies he remembers what things were important to her from 20 years ago. A person is not putting this much time and effort into a project of this magnitude for just anyone, since he understands on a deeper level what it's like to lose everything you care about. This moment as a child clearly impacted him deeply, and his desire to get everything back highlights how fiercely Shinjae cares about Shuno in the most selfless way possible, because Shinjae gets nothing out of this except the joy on Shuno's face. So it also reinforces how much he values her happiness.
Shuno is really touched by this gesture. They have a much needed heart-to-heart. He brings up the divorce, which he knows is a point of contention for her, and explains that he is true to Su-rong and Shuno and also doesn't like to see Su-rong suffer. But he also doesn't want to disobey Shu-ming Lee. Instead, he wants to stay and find ways to help Su-rong get what she deserves, implying that the more power he has, the more he can help her. And in order to do that, he needs to stay in Shu-ming Lee's good graces. Shuno uses this opportunity to bring up some observations and says ever since that time when they were 18, his attitude towards Shu-ming Lee seems to have changed. He is polite, but also seems hostile towards her father. She asks him directly if he has more secrets. Shinjae doesn't tell her about the diary, but does tell her about something else that happened, which is that Shu-ming Lee threatened to throw Shinjae out and keep him from ever seeing Shuno ever again if he pursued a relationship with her or did anything to make him or the Shu family look bad. Shuno starts to ask, "Do you really?" And before she can finish, Shinjae says pretty ardently, "Shihwan," which directly translated means "I like you," and in this instance is like affirmation. He says, "Throughout, I've always loved only you." Then he flips it, saying there's only a few days left on their bet, and asks if she likes him. He tells her she doesn't need to give an answer right away, that they've shared a lot and he has a business trip so she can think it over and tell him when he gets back. He says even if he loses, he'll resign himself to his fate, and he seems sincere about it. And they finally are on good terms now. Not. Absolutely wrong. Of fucking course not, guys. During the business trip, there's a big storm. Shuno can't get a hold of Shinjae, so she drives 3 hours. Yes, 3 fucking hours in the storm and finds him helping dig people out of the rubble from a landslide. She's completely distraught. He tells her his phone was water damaged and that's why she couldn't reach him, except
that was a lie.
We, as in us, the viewer, and Shuno, find out Shinjae purposefully didn't respond to her because he wanted to know how she truly felt about him. This was obviously supposed to be a secret, except she saw that he had messaged people from work during the same time frame that she tried to call him. His plan backfires spectacularly. Up in fucking flames. Now Shuno is fucking pissed at him again. Bro needs to get his fucking act together, no joke. This causes issues at the company because Shuno is not notified when the funding for her marketing campaign gets put on hold. She's absolutely pissed that Shinjae didn't discuss it with her.
许小姐线上拉黑我， 线下躲着我，我找谁商量？
Gao Hao-en walks in with paperwork for him to sign off on for the Xiamei project. Shuno puts two and two together and realizes the funding for her project has been diverted to Baisha, which pisses her off even more for obvious reasons. Here we get a flashback to Shinjahe being strong-armed by Shuming Li to set up a subsidiary and lend out the funds to Xiamei. When Shinjahe tries to tell him this is a misappropriation of funds, Shuming Li says that it's not. He's just lending the money and they'll pay it back. Bro, whatever you need to do to convince yourself, right? Okay. Shuno tells Shinjahe not to worry about her project. She'll figure out the funding on her own. This unfortunately gets her into a lot of trouble. She ends up meeting Jiang Shuyu. To quote Shinjahe,
他的渣男追求者之一，圈里下三流的头粉。
and oh boy, is that ever true. It seems Jiang Shuyu never got over Shuno's rejection and is salty about how things ended. Bro, like, maybe don't be a fucking sleazebag and people won't talk shit about you. Whatever, anyways. He offers to fund her project only if she will date him. Be so fucking for real, bro. Like, as if our girl would ever agree to that. So he defaults to the only thing slimy men like him know. He drugs her, brings her to a hotel room, and takes just enough incriminating video to ruin her reputation. Yes, my friends, it's revenge porn. Now, there is no specific law in China for this, but the dissemination of lewd or pornographic material is illegal, and so is SA. Our girl is drugged, but not going down without a fight. She sets her smartwatch to record and hides it on the side table while he is setting up the camera. She's fucking smart. By the time she rejoins the world, netizens are going absolutely wild. Chi tries to talk to her and tells her he has a plan on how to fix it. She's like, bro, I am busy. Chi goes to Shuming Li and says it's him in the video. He is Shuno's boyfriend and his computer was hacked and he will take all the blame. Shuming Li is like, abso-fucking-lutely not will my daughter ever date someone with the last name Ch, because they are obviously mortal enemies. That is until Baisha is like, hey, if she marries into the Ch family, she could inherit a bunch of SJ shares, which would set her up in a great position. Why does she do this? Because if Baisha can't have Shinjahe, then neither will Shuno. Bitch, I fucking hate her. She's so good. She's such a good antagonist, guys. Meanwhile, Shinjahe goes into action with Aoji to take down Jiang Shuyu. Later, while he's bringing a drink into Shuno's room, he sees she's fallen asleep with her phone open to all of the online hate comments. He tucks her in. It's really sweet. Our boy is worried about her. Meanwhile, Aoji confirms it was definitely Jiang Shuyu that set up Shuno, so Shinjahe does what he does best. He fucking punts the guy. I shit you not when I tell you the first words out of this guy are, but then Shinjahe gets a call from Aunt Pei saying that Shuno and Shuming Li are arguing and asks him to come home. When are they not arguing? When is he not in the middle of their arguing? Jesus Christ. Okay. Shinjahe, before leaving, grabs Jiang Shuyu by the back of the neck and says, our boy is not messing around. I mean, he's never messing around when it comes to Shuno, but when I say Jiang Shuyu has seen his final day. We are back at the house. Shuming Li is telling Shuno she has to marry Chi. He's not exactly victim blaming, and not to stereotype every boomer out there, but he's doing the thing. Though, what sounds better, that you were assaulted or that it was just a night with your boyfriend? Chi is still willing to marry you even after this. Just take the W, girl. You know, she is not having any of it. She is a strong, independent woman. She's like, is my worth only tied to marriage? She reminds him that she's the victim here. Xiuming Li asks if she has any proof and who can back her up. I hate him so much. He reminds her how ruthless the internet is to women, and like, here I can't disagree. Like, netizens are horrible to women on the internet. Thankfully, Shen Zhahe to the rescue again. He marches in with a firm, I won't agree to it. Xiuming Li resorts to bribes. Remember, once you're married, your grandmother's shares will be yours. I'll even toss in extra as your dowry. And then he says if she doesn't agree, she can pack up her things and also find a new job. Real stand-up father right here, guys. Father of the year. God, that's sarcasm. The PR team will be announcing her engagement to Chi that afternoon. Guys, it's such a fucking mess. Shuno is standing outside Yuan Fei in front of all of the reporters. Chi shows up and says, yes, it's him in the video, but before anything else can happen and Chi can answer any questions, Shen Zhahe walks up and says it's actually him in the video. Shuno now has to make a choice, a very important decision. She needs to pick who she wants the media to think was in the video. Of fucking course she picks Shen Zhahe. He openly states to the reporters that he's her boyfriend and that they will be pursuing full legal accountability against the voyeur. I love me a good case of malicious compliance, and when I tell you how sweet this part is, oof, our girl, yes. So her and Shen Zhahe enter holding hands. Xiuming Li is like, stop holding hands. Stop it right now. Shuno shows the ring and tells him to set a wedding date. He's like, what date? What wedding? She's like, didn't you say if I agreed to marry, you'd give me a portion of Yuan Fei's shares? Xiuming Li is like, I meant to Chi, not Shen Zhahe. He says they can't marry because they are siblings. Shuno says they are not related and reminds him of his exact words, saying,
你当时的原话是，只要你同意结婚，我就把远飞的股份送你一部分当做嫁妆。
It's so good. Xiuming Li, fucking pissed. He storms off. Shuno thanks Chi for trying to help, but says she can't take advantage of his kindness and doesn't want him wrapped up in a scandal like this. In what I can only describe as the best casual backhand I've ever heard, she says, Shen Zhahe has been engaged and broken it off before. One more scandal won't bother him. Just sit with that for a minute. It's just so good. So the engagement is a ruse. Guys, they literally sign a fucking contract. It's a contract engagement. They negotiate the terms of the engagement and then they renegotiate the terms of the game. It's quite a glorious scene.
我告诉你哦，我只会比之前更难对付。
我就是喜欢对付你这种难对付的女人。
They decide to extend the game by 1 month due to the hiccup of the engagement because they can't get engaged and then break it off the next day. They have to at least pretend for a little while. Man, I'm so glad I'm not famous and in the spotlight. So much pressure. We meet a new player now. Shen Zhahe's mother, who I don't have on here. We meet Shen Zhahe's mother, Shen Fen, who is being taken care of at a care home. It's a short interaction, but enough to give us a small picture and introduce her as a new player. We then find out that Jiang Shuyu has been arrested. Apparently, Shuno, when she woke up, couldn't find her watch. Shinjahe absolutely scoured that hotel room top to bottom and found Shuno's watch and submitted it as evidence to the police, which allowed them to basically indict Jiang Shuyu for the dissemination of lewd materials and the SA that he recorded. I did see some people online complain about this storyline and how unresolved it was, which I found very confusing. Beyond the fact that Jiang Shuyu gets arrested, it serves the plot by pushing our two leads into a contract relationship. Yes, they were already playing the game. The game was coming to an end, and the game was their own choice. This has now forced them into this contract relationship by forces outside of their power. It also further reinforces to our female lead that Shinjahe sincerely cares about her. Again, having her back and going to bat for her when no one else would. This is critical. Even Yi wanted to sweep it under the rug and gloss over what actually happened to her. Shinjahe is the only one who sought justice. And this is what I was saying when we were very first introduced to his character in episode 1, when he cooperated with the authorities to arrest the guy who embezzled money. Shinjahe is on the side of justice and believes people should get what they deserve. It's the same thing he's doing with Shuming Li. We are now in episode 18 and seeing this play out again with Shu Nuo. And this is what sets him apart from the other players in her life, because he listens to her. She didn't want this swept under the rug. Her reputation was important, but not in the way others saw it. What was important to her was her reputation saved through justice because she was a victim. And because this is a drama and not real life, we actually get it. And this begins our first real big shift in the relationship between Shinjahe and Shuno, which I will get into in part 2 because we are only a third of the way into our 56 episode series and this part is already long enough. If you made it this far, thank you. My God, you are a trooper. I do so hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like and a comment if you did. Subscribe if you aren't already. Yeah, I think that's it. I gotta add some more lines now and then I will see you in part 2.